What is up, guys? Back in today with another reaction to Windbreaker, this time with episode 5 of season 2. Not a great episode for me last week. I know a lot of people really loved the episode and what it kind of covered, but I just feel like it already kind of covered those feelings. That was so heavily kind of dialogued. It's not definitely not a word, but yeah, a lot of the things that were spoken last week I think were actually displayed really well in terms of the action and the things we saw the characters do. I don't think they actually needed to go into depth too much on the kind of dialogue side of things, but again, a lot of people seem to really love last episode, so perhaps that's just me. But yeah, looking forward to hopefully seeing more from the tattooed guy we saw a few episodes ago. They kind of teased that guy, so hopefully we see what's up with that situation today. Let me know what you guys think about this one though down in the comments. Make sure to leave a like on the video if you guys do like, and subscribe to the channel if you do want to keep up to date. I think another reason is because we see it in the opening as well here. Like this is pretty much the main vocal point of the opening is what was spoken about last week. As I always say, actions and such always speak a lot louder than words. I will say, this is probably the opening I've listened to the most this season though. Definitely one of my favourite songs that's came out of this. Again, totally relatable. Totally relatable, don't get me wrong. But I remember that sounds really weird, but again, that's really relatable. Sometimes I feel quite inhuman. I think everybody's got their masks they wear in front of people, and the thing is as well that the person you want to be and the person you are, I really do like kind of looks into that kind of those personas, that subconscious, that whole kind of consciousness and such. I think that's really interesting. Something I wouldn't expect the show to go into actually. So I'm actually quite interested on this. Like, I'd like it if they discussed this. Like, I'd be much more interested than what we covered last week, which, like I said, was actually much more powerful in action. This stuff can only really be can actually only be said with words. I think that's fatigue, bro. Do people actually get sick from working out too much? I'm not sure. I mean, I studied science of sports, so I should know, but I'm not sure that's true. I mean, maybe you could, but the soreness, your muscles kind of rebuild themselves. Not sure you can actually get ill. I did mention last week though, they probably have might catch a few diseases off the people that beat up or something. Well, I think this in itself proves why they chose you to be the rep. It takes a real man to kind of come out and say this. To be honest, I think as a guy, a lot of us, me, from my experience, always just keep stuff like this to myself. It might be better to get it out there, but it's much easier. And I do find I do much prefer doing things like solo as well, which is quite ironic because I do play football and I love being part of a team. I love helping out, being part of a team when I'm playing football and so on. But in terms of like feelings and stuff like that, it's much easier just to keep it to yourself. Like I said, like this is much more powerful than pretty much anything they can say, showing us a scene like this. Like, take all the words out of this episode already, and it would still kind of give you the story of what's being said. You'd be able to gather like 95 to 99% of it. That's the thing, though. It's a manga. It's adapted from a manga, so that's just a kind of adaptation thing, I think, isn't it? It's one of those things where like anime and TV are visual storytelling. They can be verbally. I mean, Monogatari, for example, is a really good example of that. Yeah, I mean, manga and books are obviously much more dialogue driven. And they got artwork, don't get me wrong, but yeah. Maybe what I'm trying to say is they didn't need to have a whole episode last episode discussing it. We could have had last episode. If you didn't include it, I'd still be at like the same, almost pretty much the same spot. If you know what I'm saying, like not too much would have changed in my kind of thoughts on this, and yeah, and I love that omurice. Why is omurice so? It's such a common kind of favorite meal in anime. I wonder why that is. Seems quite basic, just like eggs. Maybe that's why, because it's basic and but really good. It's really easy to make. I've never made it myself, but it looks like it'd actually be a bit of a nightmare to make. It is just eggs, rice, and some ketchup, I think. Another reason is probably because I don't like ketchup, which is again strange because I like my tomatoes. Big fan of tomatoes. Thanks to you. And I did mention this last week, like the scene with the bag of drinks and such that everyone bought for Sakura was much more powerful than pretty much anything that was said. I won't talk anymore on the point, but yeah, you get where I am on that. That's a lot of eggs. What you got to say for us then? Well, natural thing. I like bugs myself, but it's a natural human thing. I remember that as a kid. You'd have to turn the lights off really quickly and run up the stairs real quick. But being a big horror fan, watched a lot of horror movies when I was younger, I got over that really quickly. I was gonna think for him is that he hasn't got a soul because he's ginger. Classic. Yeah. What progressive group of boys we got here? Manju. Isn't that a food? I have no weakness. Natto. Fermented soybeans. They always looked really disgusting when I saw them in Gintama. They were quite common in Gintama, strangely. Fermented anything seems pretty disgusting to me, to be honest. When someone like goes to it looks like someone's like dribbled all over it, and yeah, it's nasty. Looks nasty. I get that one. Yeah, for real. Imagine everyone's staring at you like this. And I do relate to this a little bit as well. I mean, you probably see it in my videos. I never really looked after myself that well, so I never used to smile. I didn't want to show anyone my teeth, so again, I didn't really look after myself. I was much more. I went. Wow, this episode's gone by quickly. Yeah, I was much more other people focused. I really cared about what other people's perceptions of me were and such, which again might be seen quite ironic, but yeah, I never really used to look after myself that much. I do very much now as an adult, but I just had a real kind of total personality shift from like 18 onwards. So I wouldn't say I was majorly extroverted, but I was like extroverted. I'd say whatever came to my mind. I didn't have an internal voice. I was a delinquent. I was doing drugs, drinking, all sorts. And nowadays, I'm just like that person's just like, yeah, crazy. I'm totally nothing like that. But I still can carry things over like that. Like again, it sounds really maybe cringe, but I never really kind of learned how to smile or anything because I'd always try and hide my teeth and my smile and such, and they don't look too bad on camera, to be honest with you. But I think the camera does do me a bit some favors. I think maybe the light helps out with that. I don't really know, but I've always been quite kind of self-conscious of that. But yeah, as an adult, I've totally changed. I've got like an inner voice in my head now that actually kind of deliberates on if I should say something I'm thinking out loud and care about other people's feelings and so on. But yeah, as with Sakura not being able to laugh, I couldn't really laugh properly because I'd always just like, if I went to like smile, I'd always just like then just like go like do this and do that creepy smile where you don't show your teeth, and always just be quite embarrassed of that. So I'd just like end up not even trying to, and probably hindered me a bit in that sense. But yeah, it sounds bad when I say it like that, but it didn't awfully affect me or anything. It was just something that was a natural reaction to how I treated myself, to be honest. Like I said, I cared much more about other people and what I'd do for them and so on. And that sounds quite outgoing, but it wasn't in a good way, if that makes sense. Like, it wasn't in a positive way of that. But that's something I've got a bit more comfortable with over time, I think. Like I said, it's a bit easier on here because I do think my computer does do me a few favors actually. So again, there's a lot I relate to in regards to this. I think again a lot of men can, to be honest. I'm excited to see more of her. You guys know I have been. Excited to see what she can do. But yeah, I don't want to get deep there or anything. Like spill out my whole life story or anything like that. But yeah, you just want to, like, again, in kind of line with Sakura, you just want to be seen as that cool guy. I kind of wanted to be depended upon again, seen as that cool, like, older guy. Like, I always looked older than I was. I had a mustache when I was like 13, 14. I mean, people would call me like Mexican, and I wouldn't like it. And then I shaved off, and then I got really popular. And then I made a lot of friends, and I'd end up buying loads of alcohol for everyone, and I'd be the guy like buying tobacco and alcohol at the shops because I was the only person that could at a young age. And like keep up appearances like that, again, very much in line with that tightrope that we saw with Sakura. And it was just, did I actually want to be doing that, or was that just to impress other people and be this certain person? She always stands out as well. That's another thing with her character. Like, I don't know if it's the hair, but even from like the back shot there, she stands out massively in that crowd of people. What's her name? Pathos. Is it? He. So it is a man? Okay. Okay. Just kind of hiding the Adam's apple a little bit with the choker. That's one way you can tell usually. Oh, that's not what that's gonna. Apologies, it's gonna take me a while to get out of saying she. But that's not what he said. That subtitle there is just wrong. he said Chan-san sounds funny or interesting, not Mister. So yeah, do you wonder what that subtitle's about? Okay, so interesting. So yeah, the question is this a? I'm really not too clued up on like this side of things, but is this a guy just with the appearance of a woman, or is this a guy that is a woman? I don't know. I guess we'll find out. I guess that's why it explains why he's here. Like that was the big question, really. Like, how does this girl, who now we know is a man, how does this girl function in this place with all these guys about? I guess this explains that. I don't care how good these guys are as human beings. It would be. I think it would be quite arduous to have a school full of all guys and one girl. I think that would be quite messy, to be honest with you. A lot of bad stuff could happen, and even if it didn't, it would still be really strange, I think, wouldn't it? Tsubaki-chan. Quite good at fashion. It's always quite confusing with these anime, especially because anime, there's a lot of characters like this, isn't there? There's a lot of boys that are just like women, but they're a boy, and it's never really like looked into any more than that. I do imagine we probably, hopefully, will look more into it because again, I would like to clear up the position of him slash her. Like, again, I don't know. Who are these guys? I don't think we've seen them yet. We're twins. Brothers. Okay. So again, it's interesting because he definitely is very feminine. If you couldn't tell, we got even more femininity from him here. So, like I said, it's interesting that he still is referred to as a guy. Vibes. Like, this is another interesting thing. It's interesting to see how accepted he is here as well. Like that might sound offensive to some people, but just being realistic in situations like this, again, where you're the only person of this nature in a group of all males, especially in a situation where they're delinquents and people like this. I think more often than not, you'd find that you wouldn't be accepted, and you would very much be the odd one out in the group and be kind of ostracized for that. Maybe a little bit like how I feel in my head would actually be the case for him. And when I say that, it's not because I relate to this situation, but in terms of there, again, maybe I can in terms of how I think about myself, but outwardly you're always thinking about that. But yeah, it's interesting. Like, I wonder if we'll see any kind of backstory as to how he was initially kind of perceived. As I did say, I think, again, being a guy, most of the time this type of person would get ostracized. That seems to be going away with the kind of current age of things, which is good, and people accepting people for who they actually are. But yeah, it all seems like it's all kind of already kind of been smoothed over. Everybody just like accepts this. Like, I'm not sure. Surely someone here must not be like fully accepting of this, because I think that's just the nature of like numbers. Like, everybody here seems, yeah, just interested to see more of this situation. It's well, again, I thought this was a woman this whole time, so my head's kind of been completely spun with this. But yeah, this is a really interesting scenario, actually, isn't it? It's one of those scenarios as well that people will call woke nonsense. So you might get a few people drop this show after this episode. But I did mention this earlier. You actually see this a lot in anime. Funny enough, like Ferris is like an example from ReZero of like, so it's just a boy. It's a woman, but actually it's kind of like that thing. It's very different. Don't get me wrong, but it's that kind of that thing of like a 10-year-old looking girl, and they say it's like a 9,000-year-old elf when it's actually just like you've drawn a little girl. Seems really nice, doesn't it? And on that same topic of how he kind of became accepted here, I do wonder if that's like an easy thing for other gangs and such. Like, I imagine they would be much more judgmental and not accepting of him. Like, if they were to get in a fight right now, he would be a major target, I think. Data safe haven. Okay, good episode today. Yeah, good episode today. Like I said, interesting situation at the end of the episode here. I like the first half of the episode. They did again, perhaps like they didn't have to say as much as they did. I appreciate that they did, because we got some good experiences out of the rest of the crew, and I thought that was actually a good kind of bonding moment. But just the visuals again of just the rope and the sanctuary underneath, just they've done the job itself. You don't need to go too far and kind of, maybe for some people, I'm not trying to be obnoxious here, but maybe for some people you need to spell it out. But I feel like they really didn't need to. Even subconsciously, I think people that maybe don't understand unless they're told would be able to get something from it. I don't know. But yeah, quite relatable. Quite a relatable episode. Interesting to hear people's opinions on the end of the episode there as well. Again, purely judged from my experience, if it was a situation where I was in an all boys school and someone like this came in, there would be a lot of people talking about it, and it would be a huge point of discussion. So for it to be just like fully accepted by everybody, no questions asked or anything, is quite extraordinary, actually. Still don't know all the details about him, so I wonder if he does refer to himself as like a woman. Again, everything tells me that that would be the case, except for the fact that he does refer to himself as a man. So I don't know. It's kind of totally against me as a person in a sense, because I'm very much a person to. I'm very good at reading rooms. I'm pretty good at reading people and their feelings and emotions. So having it being a negative to kind of presume things about people in this regard is a huge detriment to me as a person, I think. Like I said, I'm very good at, like, I wouldn't even say assuming. I'm just good at kind of reading stuff like the emotions of like a room, for example, how someone's feeling. There's always like little details and such that you can tell. With something like this, like I said, from me as a judgmental perspective, I see him dressed as a woman, acts like a woman, reacts like one. Yeah, he refers to himself as a man, so it's like it's totally against every instinct I would have when I'm like initially meeting them, and that's why you should always like hear people out, hear people got to say. I've definitely been kind of surprised a few times in that regard as well, for sure, and that happens even more so as again time goes on. So yeah, that is like, I'm really good at that kind of stuff, but there is obviously negatives with that as well. It's like that classic saying of don't judge a book by its cover. I'm pretty good at judging books by their covers, but every now and then there will be something wildly different in that book. But yeah, good episode. Like I said, a few interesting questions here. I like the first half quite a lot. Liked everyone just kind of sharing their inner thoughts. As I said, this is another thing that you probably wouldn't get too much in an actual situation like this. I doubt you'd ever get too much of people actually giving up their kind of hidden selves and their bad points so easily away to other people. Like, you can't say it's unrealistic because this is anime, but in a social situation like this, as a guy, it does feel quite unrealistic. But it's awesome that they can, and you usually do find this as a guy, but it's usually in like much smaller groups of really close friends. So it's good that we've got like everybody on the same page here. Again, just nice hearing everybody's kind of deficits. I think again, this scene here especially was just like you didn't really need to have this. This scene here and the scene with the tightrope literally spell out pretty much like the whole point. So yeah, they should much more focus on, because it is an adaptation of a manga. I understand why they've done this, but you've got to adapt it for the medium. Like, that's why I don't read too much manga, but that's why I don't really care too much if they cut things out of the manga. Obviously, if it's something important, I'm not going to be a fan of it, but the reason they do that is because they can get it across a lot quicker and a lot more effectively, because it's a visual medium of TV. Cinema, of course. But yeah, I really enjoyed this episode, actually. Probably the best episode of the season, even though it didn't have any action, and you guys know the action is probably my favourite part of the series. This was definitely one of the best episodes, maybe because it was quite relatable to me, but yeah, it was just nice to see, actually. And again, an interesting ending here. Like I said, I'd be interested to hear what you guys have to say about this. Let me know what you guys think in general about the comment section, about the episode in the comment section. Leave a like on the video if you guys did like, and subscribe to the channel if you do want to be up, if you do want to keep up to date with these weekly reactions. And I'll see you guys next week with episode 6.